Hello. I was told there was going to be dry ice, but that's okay. We can make this work. So, hi everybody. My name's Campbell. I'm from the European city of London, and I work as a product designer on the Spark AR platform. I'm going to talk to you today about designing AR experiences for spaces and places. We're going to focus on some of the relevant tech that we have today and some of those use cases that are just around the corner. So, specifically, we're going to be talking about augmented reality experiences that are connected to real-world spaces, places, and objects. Or to think of it another way, it's what happens when we start to turn that beady little camera eye onto the world itself. So, I collect old postcards of the streets where I live in London, and these are not going to mean anything to you. You don't have any context of the place. But when I see them, and when I stand in the same street looking at a view from 100 years ago, it's really powerful stuff, right? It's meaningful to me. And the opportunities of AR anchored to spaces and places, I believe, can be extremely emotive and engaging. There's a wonderful book by journalist and author Italo Calvino, Invisible Cities, where there's this line that goes, "The city, however, does not tell its past, but contains it like the lines of a hand." The places and spaces that you walk through, they're not going to tell you about the stuff that's in there. It's there. It's ready for you to tune into and to consume. Sort of imagine persistent AR being these waves, these wonderful channels that you can dial into to find the information that's relevant to you. So why are we doing this? Why are we doing AR for spaces and places? Well, humans, we're highly sensory things, right? Our brains are wired to take in information through a number of different channels. And we believe that AR can help to make information more compelling and more memorable. It can help people get more value out of places and spaces. Now, there was a recent big body of research that we conducted with about 100 or so folks from all around the world working at venues and high footfall public spaces. And the recurring theme was this, right? I paraphrase, but this chap here, it would have to be useful in some way or you just get bored really, really quickly. There needs to be a point to designing AR in these experiences. So this kind of drove us to a couple of key principles that certainly when we're starting to design the tools and the scenarios around this, two principles that we keep in mind, hopefully relevant to you as well. So the first one being this, which is that AR for places must add value and address real user needs. To put it another way, really frankly, again, we all know this, but it can't be technology for technology's sake, as cool as that could be. The second principle is this, and again, hopefully this resonates with you, which is that the use case must be sympathetic to the medium of AR. Like, we're always asking ourselves this when we're trying to design for it. It's like, does it make sense in this space? Are we gaining or are we losing something by moving it into this medium? Okay, so if I've just spoken very, very briefly about personally why I'm interested in this, why as a team, why as an organization we're going after this, I want to try and put a bit of color onto this and talk around scenarios. So these scenarios, think of these as kind of like big camps. These are going to be really exciting places to go and to play in. And I like to think of potential scenarios as being a bit of a spectrum. So it's running this gamut going from utility, so help me to get the task done, through to entertainment. Engage me with something that I enjoy. And hopefully, as you can see, like this scale isn't binary, right? Things get lovely and blurry within their space. So keep that in mind when we look at a few of these examples. Retail has come up a lot, so I just want to touch upon that, but just with that little twist of what does it mean to be contextually relevant, so in a given place and time. So in the future, just around the corner, if you're strolling past that retail store and you see the glasses that you really, really like, well, it doesn't matter that it's 10 o'clock at night and the shop is shut. You can still try those glasses on and you can take some of that away with you because you're there. My point before about this belief that AR can be compelling and can be memorable is going to lend itself extremely well, we believe, to education. Using AR to sort of reveal those hitherto unseen things, again, like the layers that you want to tap into. So what does it mean to have a shared communal AR experience where a teacher might be teaching around acoustic chambers and the physics around how sound works and carries through a room? Another really, really important scenario we see, kind of linked to education in a way, is going to be around the museum space. It's important for this reason, which rather than thinking of these like kind of small, fleeting AR moments, you've suddenly got an audience that are in the frame of mind for absorbing more information over a longer period of time. That they're already in that mindset of, hey, I want to go from A to B, going via X, Y, Z as well. So it could take the form of, for example, a scavenger hunt, maybe, where you're journeying through a museum and collecting and gathering clues along the way. Those three examples that I just talked around are very much about the kind of like, da-da, sort of moments, you know, the things that you might not see every day. But the other side of that is also going to be around utility. And I find this space like absolutely fascinating. If we're going to see AR for places and spaces starting to become ubiquitous, well, what is the everyday? What might it mean to take something as mundane as a till receipt, and then suddenly that becomes your surface for unpacking the information around the day? So those are a few kind of like scenarios and spaces within, but those are, you know, they're just ideas, and of course ideas are cheap, right? So we're trying to bring to all of you folks the tools to start building these, and we think we're in a really strong position. First of all, there's the surfaces that we have. So around Facebook and with Instagram, we now have the camera, you know, that eye to turn onto the world and enjoy these AR experiences. You don't have to download and install a new application. We're also very, very mindful that different people have all sorts of different types of phones. So the Spark platform is optimized to play nicely with lots of different device classes. How do we get to these? Super key. It's that entry point, that first bit of discovery. There's a bunch of things that we're exploring and working towards, but straight out the box today, if you were to publish an effect, you can customize a QR tag that's going to deep link into that effect. So if somebody sees this out in the wild, they can straight away get into AR. Target tracking is very, very important at the moment for starting to build these AR experiences for places and spaces. It's super robust. It also means it can be a custom target that goes in there. Whether or not you have a single target or a multiple target also plays with that. And by having the target as being your anchor and the center point for your AR experience, you can also start to kind of combine instructions as well as the target. What this looks like within the tooling, incredibly easy to set up. So within the scene tree, so our little robot fella here is just a child of a target tracker. So then you start to set up all your parameters around that. If you want your audiences to take a little bit of a step back and enjoy a bit more of the world, we also offer a plane tracker to do this. So currently this is geared more towards tracking floor surfaces, which is great because it's a little bit less limiting and you've got more to engage with. And vertical plane tracking is going to be coming soon. What this looks like in the tooling is super similar to what we saw before with our little robot fella. So rather than using a target tracker, we're using a plane tracker in the scene tree. Again, whatever asset you're trying to pin to that space then becomes a child of that. Hopefully your audiences aren't going to be anticipating sort of really sort of static experiences. They want something that's rich and is interactive. So this dancing bear, this is actually one of the tutorials in Spark AR Studio, if you've seen this before. So he's actually tracking, when I recorded this, he's sort of tracking my head movement, my mouth, and the tap gesture is cycling through the different colors on his jersey. If you're super comfortable with JavaScript, happy days, you can do it in JavaScript. But we've also built a very powerful patch-based editor. And if you are interested in this as a way of starting to program and bring out interactive delight, I thoroughly advise you to go and have a look at the creator community that's up on Facebook. What we're seeing, and we didn't really anticipate this, is a lot of folks are building these little experiments and then publishing views of their patch graphs and sort of going, aha, this is how you go off and make this sort of thing. So a really, really useful resource. And if you do want to start trying around like a bit of an experiment that we built for F8, if you haven't done so already, on the cards that came with your lanyards when you came in, there's a link to a scavenger hunt that we actually have running around the auditorium. Open this up within your Instagram stories camera, and it will take you straight into the little hunt that we've put together. So we've spoken a little bit about why we find this place interesting, why I find it interesting. We talked a little bit about the tools that we have that enable you to go out and build these things today. But this is where it gets interesting, because we don't really, as much as we might sort of say, oh, this is definitely going to be happening, we don't really know what is going to be coming around the corner. It's this sort of, you have a sense of where things might be heading. And I think it's that kind of exciting uncertainty that certainly keeps us awake at night thinking about this. So when I say to all of you, it's like onwards to the future, there's a few things, a few variables that we see emerging that we believe are going to have a fantastic impact on designing and making AR for places and spaces. The first one is going to be this. So everybody's here sort of running around with their phones, but as we move towards a future of more socially acceptable, a more commonplace, always on AR hardware, that is going to have a tremendous effect on how people view and how they anticipate AR out within the public domain. Something that we're also starting to see a lot of, certainly when we went for our closed beta within Instagram, is this variable, which is that the feedback loops between users and creators are going to get even faster and even more rapid. So if we've got any of our sort of kind of creator crowd, the stars, the celebs, if you have a conversation with them, they will all say, yes, I'm seeing how my audiences are using this, I'm seeing how they're talking about it, and then I'm going back and I'm tweaking and I'm adjusting and I'm making it I'm making this experience really sing for my audience. A lot of the examples that we've looked around here have been pixels blasting into your eyeballs, right? It's all been about the visual. But things that are going to start happening really soon are around opening up to more sensors. So you're going to see audio, you're going to see haptics. So even if you are strolling into the theme park with your hands in your pockets, you can still be enjoying an AR experience conjured up for the world around you. We couldn't talk about AR for places and spaces without what's going to be changing about places themselves, in the sense that places are going to remember AR. I believe you're going to start seeing, in a hopefully a positive way, this sort of building up of information that is attributed to specific places. These kind of layers of metadata that are contextually aware of themselves and the people that are passing through that space. And if I can leave you with one last point, it's probably going to be the most important thing that's going to be coming, which is this, that users are going to expect AR wherever they are, right? It's going to seem as strange as a restaurant or a location that doesn't have a website or something like that. We believe that users, hopefully in not too distant a future, whenever they go out into a place, they're going to expect to be able to unpack and unlock and consume this AR content. So with all of that, I ask all of you, please, let's go build some things. Be exciting. Thank you very much, everybody, for taking the time and listening. Really appreciate it. If you haven't been to the Spark AR booth, please do come down and have a look. There's loads of interesting folks there who will answer all sorts of questions. Thank you.